What is going on, Comic Fam? It's your boy, the Bearded Comic Bro, and I am joined by my friend of the show, Zack Kaplan. Welcome back.
Hey,
It's been
thanks for having me.
it has been a while. We were just talking backstage. Um, this I feel like this is like your third time on the show. We got the table near each other at a Comic Con C2E2 a couple years ago, and
Yeah,
man, it was high time to be back together talking comics. So
yeah. Yeah, we were just saying I think last time I was on I had a bunch of books to promote and
yes,
a bunch of books coming out, and of course now it's the same. So
yeah.
I only like to have a lot of books at one time. So
You literally like it was like prepping for an interview with you is insanely a lot of books because like 2 years ago it was Forever Forward, Mindset, what was the other one,
Breakout and Metal
Breakout,
Society.
Metal Society, the
They
and
all
then
came out in a 6 month span, and now the same thing has happened here pretty much.
you've
So
got four books that
yeah,
are either coming out in a 6 month span, so it's just like it's
it's
like
a
listen, you just
holistic experience. You get to truly just like immerse yourself in
you,
uh in my work.
you listen, Zach, you're just like, I don't like to do promotion of books, so if I just have to promote a book, four books at a time,
Right, it's entirely on purpose, just so I only have to promote in one, and then I get to rest
just
for a
one
year.
shot. Like, I hope you like something here, gang. I'm writing that.
Yeah,
Zach, you have become one of my favorite writers.
thank you.
Once I picked up Eclipse and Port of Earth, and then you joined the Future, which I fell in love with. Like, I started to really get to whenever your name is on a book, I'm excited. You wrote one of my favorite books of 2022, Mindset, which was, I mean, I want to talk about your new stuff, but man, that was such a good book.
We can talk about, yeah.
That was
Thank you.
such a good book. And then I just saw recently that it got picked up right here this summer.
Yeah, it got picked up for TV development with Don Cheadle's company, Radical Act, and Studio Boat Rockers. So
Nice.
yeah, we're excited to see what comes with all that. But yeah, exciting stuff.
Yeah. How much do you as a creator get involved in any of that? Do you get any say in when stuff like
No,
that gets picked up or
it depends from
okay.
project to project. So um, yeah, it's always different. And it always kind of depends on who comes in and how that all plays out. And so that one in particular is not much more I can talk about because it's further along in its development. And so yeah, I can't really
Yeah.
yeah, but it's always exciting. And I think that was, one that we obviously felt would translate really well to television. So it's got, a lot of drama, and it's kind of very modern. It's something that we like. It only continues to become more modern and more timely.
Right.
So yeah, hopefully it will go all the way. We're very excited about it.
Yeah. It's if you all have not had a chance to pick up Mindset, go pick it up. It is, like I said, it was one of my favorite books of 2022. It was on my I think top three of the year. And I know I saw it on a lot of people's top 10. Like, I'm telling you, apparently Don Cheadle, like, he listens to my show because he
Yeah,
but so you just have a lot of stuff. One of the things though that I do gravitate towards you a lot as a writer is you don't necessarily know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get a good story. That's what I'll say that, but you dabble in so many different genres, right? Like, we talked about your last foray, you had robot society, humans taking over, and there was a boxing match to determine. You had teens breaking into an alien spacecraft one time. You see a bubble world with Join the Future. Like, it's just such a well developed and well thought out world, but you're always setting it in unique settings and unique ideas. So I guess I want to know, how do you kind of come up with your ideas, or like, do you have like a hodgepodge of stuff? You're like, oh, I want to put this, or I'm going to save this for a little bit. How does the creative process work for you?
I mean, I think like any creative, I'm always coming up with new ideas. Yeah, I mean, I always try to have it be science fiction, but one of the great things is by spinning sci-fi western or
Mhm.
sci-fi noir or sci-fi, like it's always a different kind of mashup of subgenres, and so it can make it feel very, very different. And I like playing with, you know, big fun ideas or more nuanced and surrealist ideas. And so yeah, I think I and I think that also comes from like me wanting to grow and evolve and play as a creator. I think when I started, I was definitely deep in hard sci-fi stories like Eclipse and Port of Earth. Like those were very like and Join the Future. Like those all felt very connected. And it just comes from my appetite to continue to try different things. And I think, you know, this year again, trying horror for the first time, trying my most action-oriented series for the first time. Beyond Real is, you know, by far a real surrealist kind of experience. So yeah, just it just comes from me, I think, not wanting to do the same thing over and over again. But I also feel like, and now I have, I think, a dozen different stories under my belt. So I feel like as people read my stuff, they'll find that there's similar themes or similar struggles or similar characters that like there is a voice there of like my feelings towards the world and what I want to explore. But yeah, I want people to feel something new every time. I don't want to do the same thing. So yeah, yeah, I'm always coming up with
Yeah.
new ideas and trying to come up with something different
Well,
that people, yeah, won't expect.
Well, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about playing in the world of science fiction, right? It's kind of like a reflection on us as a society, right? And things that
Yes.
we fear and things that we struggle with. And you can play with it in that sandbox, but you're still dealing, like you said, like you can throw a little Western sci-fi into it, right? Like there was always episodes of Star Trek where they were in some Wild Wild West or something, you know, so there's elements like that. But I think science fiction kind of allows us to look at our thoughts on society and things like that without being a little maybe a little bit more graceful of it, like, oh, well, that's science fiction.
Absolutely. I mean, that, yeah, that science fiction at its core is an examination of where we are in society and who we are. And so whether it's a super futuristic story or it's a story like 5 seconds in the future, it gives me a chance to kind of say, hey, what about mind control? And what about our relationship with our devices? Or what about how we treat, you know, widespread, you know, tragedies, you know, like if kids are getting abducted by spaceships, you know. And so like it's always an opportunity for me to and that's, I think, what I like. I mean, at the end of the day, the thing that makes me enjoy a story most of all is when it makes me think. There's nothing better for me than coming out of watching a movie or seeing a TV show or reading a comic and needing to go talk to someone about it. Like, oh my God, I have to go talk to someone about this. Like, I have to say, did you see this? Or did you read this? Like, what do you think? What was that ending? I have to talk about it. And so that's what I try to immerse my comics in, so that people, you know, have that same experience where they're like, oh, they have to go talk to someone about it. So you know, thought-provoking science fiction, but after that baseline, you know, as many different directions as I can go.
Yeah. And one of the directions that you went this last year, at the time of the recording, we got 2 issues out. Kill All Immortals. You went like Norse god, immortal gods, and brutal,
Yeah.
violent. It is like there are some imagery on there where I'm like, I think that's an eyeball. I'm like, holy buckets. I'm like, all right, let's go. Like, so let's talk Kill All Immortals. It's from Dark Horse, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So where did this kind of idea for Kill All Immortals come about and start?
yeah, I mean, it was definitely a confluence of me wanting to do something action oriented and wanting to really sink my teeth, pun intended, into like something a little bloody and violent. And yeah, I also had been thinking a lot about immortality and how that might translate into the modern world. And I kind of found a connection to billionaires and legacy families, and kind of inspired by Succession style family dramas like that. And I thought there was just something really interesting about staging a story about a family like that with immortality, and then connecting Vikings to it, because it brought a sense of barbarism to the capitalistic sort of tendencies, which, you know, there's just bloodthirst for greed and gathering and warmongering that feel connected to both Vikings and modern billionaires. And so it all kind of came together. I reached out to Fico Ossia. We'd been talking for a couple of years about trying to find something to do together. Fico was a huge Viking fan, absolutely loved it. His style was absolutely perfect for it. And we were off to the races, and have just had the time of our lives kind of playing with these characters and yeah, and getting violent and in a good way, and like
Yeah.
in a story, serves a story sort of way. But yeah.
Yeah. Now, I don't want to quote you on this, but what I heard you say was you were watching Secession and you're like, what if they were immortal and what if they were Vikings?
Succession was definitely a touchstone for sure. Yeah, I mean, it is very similar. It is very, I mean, but that's also the quintessential family
Right.
drama of our current time. I feel like if I had come up with this idea 10 years prior, it might have been Sopranos or something like that. You know, like
Yeah.
there is always a power soap on television about a family, you know, going to war with itself in different ways. I mean, that's a story that's told again and again and again, and we see it in comics, you know, and you know, yeah. And so it was just the next iteration of that. And yeah, and then it's with like John Wick's sort of action. And the aesthetic was really important to us. And I think that that's actually one of the reasons the book has been so successful, because we wanted to take Vikings and violence and family drama, but we didn't want it to feel dated, or we wanted it to feel authentic. We wanted people to come into the world and feel like, oh, this is real. This is a real world with real characters. And so the way to do that is, you know, the covers first off by Oliver Barrett. He does our A cover series, absolutely like stunning. You feel like you're watching like a fashion shoot. You know, like all the characters are on these different covers, but they're covered in blood, but they're high fashion, sort of
Yep.
calm before the storm. And yeah, just really making sure that that kind of modern vibe came across. And so I think it makes it feel authentic, and you feel like you're stepping into a real situation with these characters.
So we kind of talked about the general idea. Like, what was kind of the elevator pitch of like when you were talking and you were trying to get this creative team of like the story that
Oh
people
yeah,
get with this?
it was Secession with Immortal Vikings fighting John Wick style. Like that was it. And I think, and also like to its credit, the simplicity and like, yeah, this meets that. Like
Yeah.
sometimes people say don't do this meets that, but like it so cleanly describes, you know, what it is. I mean, without that, you could equally say, you know, a family power struggle of Immortal Vikings fighting in modern times. And you know, yeah, those are the three kind of
Right.
core touchstones. And then the other core touchstone was to do a female protagonist that follows in the footsteps of Erica Slaughter. We really wanted, and that is by means a very big mountain to climb by far. But we wanted to helm this with a strong character that kicks ass, that you care for, that as you go down the journey with her, you feel the complexity building on her shoulders, and you feel like this is a really terrible situation that you know you don't know how she's going to get out of this. And you know, it's full of secrets and mystery and intrigue, and but yeah, we wanted the character to really stand out. And I think, you know, for the most part, all of that stuff is kind of new. I mean, you know, a lot of times I lean more, I feel that I often do character really well, but if you look at like something like Mindset, you know, it's a completely different approach to character. It's really not someone that you would like have stand out in that like action hero sort of way. And so yeah, this was a lot of fun for me, but definitely, you know, a chance for the whole me and the whole creative team to kind of
Yeah.
create an action hero, you know.
Well, and and you did. You talked about those A covers, and man, that first one when I saw it, I was like, she looks just like somebody you don't want to mess with. And I read the first issue, I'm like, she is not someone you want to mess with. Then I
Yeah.
read the issue 2, I'm like, it's not something like so
The A cover is so important in comics. It is so important. If you're listening and you're a aspiring creator, you have to absolutely nail the landing with the A cover. And so, you know, we brought on Tom Muller. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Tom Muller. He's one of the best designers in the game. He did the House of X, the whole X-Men, like the whole reinvention when they did the whole House of X 2-year thing. Like he redid all that. He's done all your favorite covers. And we told him, like, we want something that is really big, really dynamic, takes up a third of the page, like take up way too much space. We want something that just like really catches your eye with that crazy logo. Absolutely nailed it, you know. And then yeah, we brought in Oliver Barrett, who was really great at doing these really high-end realistic kind of covers and artwork, and gave him the, like, you know, this is a GQ magazine shoot with this character and a bloody Viking weapon. And you know, that kind of gives you everything you need to know. It's like there's built-in duality into looking calm while there's blood everywhere. Like that says something. And so that says what this is, which is you're going to get a lot of violence, but it's just violence dripping on the floor because this is really about something else. It's not about violence. It's something, the violence is just coming out of the fact that they're Vikings and they're fighting.
It's so interesting that you talked about the A covers being like that, because now you said it's a GQ shoot. I'm like 100%. And the other aspect about these covers are they do stand out in a way that, like, you're intrigued. Like, well, you have the title Kill All Immortals in and of itself, but then you're captivated by, like, this person just looks like a GQ model covered in blood. Like, what is going on? And you can kind of piece together some stuff. But to me, that's what you want on a newsstand. When you're walking by, you might not have heard the, you know, Dark Horse Publishing, maybe. I don't even know. You know, you might not have heard Kill All Immortals. And you're like, wait, what is this? Okay, I'm intrigued. So yeah, nailed it out park with the A cover.
It's dramatic irony, and I try to look for it as much as I can in both titles and in covers. Sometimes you nail it, and sometimes it's so. But like, you want, whether it's a cover or a title, something that implies duality, that suggests two different directions, because that creates intrigue. Just because you don't know which way it's going to go, and so yeah, I think definitely Kill All Immortals actually, you know, was a home run in terms of the title and the cover, and that's why I think that's one of the reasons why it's been a hot book. You know, it sold out. We've had a lot of heat around it, so it's been really exciting. But I think a lot of that goes to having a great logo design and a great cover. Yeah,
as it should. Like, I have realized this as you were talking. I've never asked this question as many interviews as I've done, but we're in the part of when you have an idea, like say Kill All Immortals, where does a title come into play then? Because the title does play in. So is it, and I'm sure it changes with projects, but is it early on, or is it like as you're writing? How's that kind of, where's that in the process?
No, I mean, actually, Kill All Immortals was not Kill All Immortals when I first sold it to Dark Horse, and it wasn't when I first pitched it to FICO. It was more untitled and not fully formed in terms of that title. Like, that title I had to get there, and I think I played around with several titles that were not right, and they were placeholders until I got there. Which is to say, like, you don't need the title to be locked in until the day before the designer needs to design that logo. Like, you have time. But yeah, some titles, like, I know right away, and some titles take some time, you know. I'm trying to think of I think Beyond Real I knew right away. Like, I think that one came to me, and that was like the first one. Kill All Immortals, I had to play around with it a bit more. Breakout, I had to play around with a lot, you know. I think I even played around with Mindset. I think there were a few variations on Mindset, and I wasn't sure, and ultimately landed on Mindset. I'm really not neurotic, but certainly I go over the titles a lot because it matters so much, and I don't like to just settle on the first thing. I like to really question it and kick it a lot and get some distance and let it develop before I really no. I mean, I'm working on a project right now that I won't talk about, but we started to play with the covers, and I paused it. I said, no, we're not touching the cover. Let's do the whole first issue first, because it was not clear what the cover or the title wanted to be yet. And I was like, so actually that title, that we're deep into the artwork on issue 1. I still don't have the title, and I still don't have the cover, but I know that it will come to us in time, and it's just about making sure that we get it right. So yeah, I spent a lot of time on it, but sometimes it don't come to until the very end.
And now I remember last time we talked, the first kind of go around I got to know of your stuff, Eclipse, Join the Future, Port of Earth, they all kind of lean themselves to allow for more stories to be told past the first arc if wanted. And then last time you're on those four, you're like, these are going to be all contained stories, like Metal Society. You're like, I want to keep them. These are the stories I want to tell. Where are you at kind of with Kill All Mortals? I know comic book industry is weird and stuff, but like, is that something where you're like, if I could tell more, I want to tell more? And
Yeah, it's not fully official yet, but it is our intention to do more than
okay,
the first 5 issue arc of this, and I'm very optimistic that we're going to make that happen. So it's not a full commitment yet, but I think that is the hope and what we foresee happening here. And I went, and it's funny because I went into this one hoping that this one could have that possibility.
okay,
We kind of said from the get-go, like, let's do this one like this one can go. And you never know. You always have to come in and say, we need to see if it hits. We need to see if it hits with retailers, with readers. But Mindset, no matter what, was never going to go on. Mindset was a contained story, and that was really it. Kill All Immortals, we came in and said, let's see if we can make this one, take the ride a little bit more. And so, and I think that's what we'll see. So we're excited to spend more time with the Asvolms.
you got another book coming out here soon. Dark Empty Void from Mad Cave. Read issue 1, prepping for this interview. So good. What is this story? Because like I got you on, I get to express my thoughts. I want to hear what you're like. What's your story for this? If get people excited about it.
Yeah, so this is my first foray into horror. It's a cosmic sci-fi horror adventure thriller, all kind of rolled up into one, and it's basically about black holes. There's a scientific compound, and here on Earth, they're experimenting with microscopic black holes with some giant collider, and they lose control, and all sorts of crazy stuff starts to come out of the black hole, including a human stranger. And if one of the scientists calls his estranged wife, who's a psychologist, because they need her to come in and basically talk to this stranger and help solve the mystery of what's happening before this black hole continues to go crazy and consume all of Earth. So it's just a amazing ride, I'd say, in the sense of like Annihilation or Aliens. It's definitely got a bit of a creature story around the corner in terms of like Aliens or Thing or things like that. But then it's also got some Arrival, some sort of kind of questioning, our experience with things from the cosmos. And it's just been a ton of fun. We've got an amazing creative team: Chris Sheehan, Francisco Segala, and Justin Birch of Bandworld Design. And then we have a cover by Christian Ward, which is awesome. And so, we're having a ton of fun. It's really a very claustrophobic and suspenseful and kind of complex story. And another really kind of flawed protagonist who's at the helm of this thing, who we're kind of going into the adventure with. So it's really awesome. Mad Cave, been fantastic to work with, and I'm really excited for people to read this one.
You talked about with Kill All Mortals, trying to find like a project that you can work with creators. How do you kind of figure out what teams or what people are going to be the right fit for projects? And like, do you hold off on some for like, and for certain things?
I do. I hold off on some. It's about finding the right creator for sure. And it takes time sometimes to find the right creator, and sometimes the right creators are not available. And I don't just approach anyone. I wouldn't have had Fico Ossio do Dark Empty Void, and I wouldn't have had Chris Sheehan do Kill All Immortals. But when it came time to, I had Dark Empty Void, and I was really excited by this idea, and reached out to Chris. And it was really funny because Chris was completely, I think, underwater with work and projects, and basically said he was only interested if it was something like Aliens and doing sci-fi horror. And I was like, actually funny that you should say that. And I sent it to him, and then he said, oh, I got to do this. So, but I had loved Chris's work from Autumnal and House of Slaughter, and just felt that Chris was the right artist for this story, just brought the level of suspense and kind of the way his inks are on the page just felt right for this world, and the character work is unbelievable. And so yeah, it is very much about making sure that it's a right match, and making sure, and yeah, I don't get to just do any project I want at any time. It really is about finding and so planning projects when you know, and I don't think it was always that way, but where I'm at now, uh, I don't get to like my what's coming for me is oftentimes up in the air, depending on finding the right publishers and finding the right artists and putting the package together. And that process takes time, and there's a lot of variables to it. So, yeah.
Yeah, Christian's art. You mentioned the autumnal, like, which is a perfect art then to pair with what you're doing here,
Right.
with Dark Empty Void. Like, it's so great to see. Do you, as a writer, I know like you probably can't do this fully, but do you kind of write stories sometimes where you're like, man, as you're writing, going, this would be perfect if this artist or an artist like this artist came along on the story? Does that ever play into it, or is it mostly just trying to find that artist after you've gotten the story?
No, I think it's both. I
Okay.
think do. I think you are I think you as a creator, I think I do consider the style and the vibe of the story, you know. And you're kind of making choices. Sometimes those choices are just based on the location, or based on the characters, or based on the devices that you're using. But yeah, I think that you are kind of picking certain lanes, and I think that there are artists that are very versatile, and there are artists that can do a lot of things. But then when you go to pair up with an artist, you are looking to say, has this artist done these things, or does this artist demonstrate? And it doesn't always need to be in a book. I mean, Fico had already started, but Fico did a series with Dark Horse called No One Left to Fight, which was amazing, but completely different style than Kill All Immortals. And I saw on his Instagram that Fico also was capable of doing far edgier, darker stuff. And I was like, oh, so I can see it. You've done this. Let's do this here. And so, yeah, I think it, yeah, I think when, you know, Kill All Immortals was written, like that, just the fact that there were going to be very aggressive, violent fights, you know, it was looking for someone that brought that dynamic kind of nature to fight sequences. So yeah, I think you do, as a creator, think about that in scripting, you know, and even like how many panels you're going to put on a page, or whether you're doing like, you know, big double page spreads, you're doing lots of little panels, like that all goes to them going to look for an artist. And I guess you can always work backwards. Like you could always write it one way,
Right.
and then you bring on an artist and you're like, oh, this artist kind of does a lot of things differently. Maybe I need to go back and fix that script and change it for this artist. I mean, you do also write for artists, and change the future. Like by the time you get to issue 2, 3, 4, 5, you know the artist, so you're writing for their style.
Yeah. It's what's interesting. I was thinking too of with what you were saying of you don't necessarily probably plan to have 4 projects going on at once in the time frame, but it sometimes syncs up like that with the creator schedules and stuff. Do you find yourself often when you're writing that you have to like be in like kill all immortal mode for a couple days and then boom, now I'm in Dark Empty Void? And like, do
Yeah,
you have to transition through that, or is it not as much like that as I'm
no, I
envisioning?
do. I hate it, but I do. It's really hard. And I don't know. I really would be curious to hear different creators at different levels, what they do. I've heard some creators talk about being able to like spend 1 month on just one book and like write it all, and then they're done, and then they move on. I have not been afforded that luxury, and I am constantly going back and forth. And then like, you know, as a creator, you're not done working on it just when you draft it. Like
Yeah.
you're also working on it as layouts come in. You're collaborating with your creators on layouts. Then you have to do a lettering pass. So like I'm doing a lettering pass this morning for Kill All Immortals 4. The artwork is all completely done, but now I have to go back and go, wait a minute, this line would be better over here, and oh, wait a minute, this beat is flat, I should change this, I should, so like, and so, this morning I'm in Kill All Immortals vibe, but then, this afternoon I'm on a completely different thing. So yeah, it's hard, really, really hard. Yeah.
You ever catch yourself like, wait, why am I writing about a Viking and a black hole?
I never,
Like,
I
how did you
never
get in
put
this
the
story?
wrong, I never put, I never put the wrong thing in there, but I will say something that gets like underappreciated in writing is momentum and tone. And like, there's nothing more valuable than being able to like spend a week just listening to the right music and immersing yourself in that story and nothing else, because every day you come back to it, you are more in that vibe and that tone, and so it's healthier, and it gets a better story. And bouncing around, especially if you have to do two projects in one day, you have to do a couple projects in a week, it breaks up, not in a good way, the ability to just be immersed in that story and that experience. So it is easier to write Vikings and black hole, things like on different days or weeks. It's not ideal to put it all together, but comics is a fast moving game, and you got to sometimes do it.
Man, I would love to know what the soundtrack for each of those books that are going on when you're writing.
Dark Empty Void is a lot of like Interstellar and maybe a little Martian, and like Tenant comes in there, like anything that's like synthy scores, sci-fi score, aliens, yeah, all that stuff's great. Annihilation, all that stuff for Dark and Devoid is great. God, what did I listen to for Kill All Immortals? That was tricky. I think I had a hard time. I have to go back and see what I listened to, because like old Vikings music did not do it. Like that did like.
And I'm sure it's mostly stuff without words, right? Or can you
I
process
generally will try not to listen to
Okay.
music. I try to listen to scores or soundtracks or something that's electronic that's not going to bring in total, unless it needs that. But yeah, I think I I think there were a couple soundtracks that I listened to. I can't remember if I got into John Wick's soundtrack for Vikings at all, for Kill All Mortals. But yeah, that was a tricky one to find.
I bet.
Yeah.
So
Mindset, man, I listened to Social Network soundtracks so many times for Mindset. Like that one that was the right one for that one. So yeah, it's always like finding the right call.
I feel like I need to like put on some of these soundtracks sometimes when I'm reading, like just pick up my Trade of Mindset and listen to the Social Network in the background, or vice versa with Dark Empty Void and things like that. I want to respect your time, but I know you got 2 more trades coming out here in this fall. So what do you got coming up still?
Finally, Beyond Real is being collected. So this is a vault book that's kind of a love letter to artists and creatives. It's all about simulation theory and what if we're living in a simulation. And it's about an artist that's in an accident. She develops the ability to travel through different layers of the simulation that is life. And so each layer is drawn by a completely different and distinct artist. We have 7 different artists working on this book. Fabiana Mascolo, Tony Fajula, Vincenzo Riccardi, Dennis Menhier, Jorge Corona, Liana Kangas, Luana Vecchio, Jordi Belair doing colors, Matea Iacona doing colors, and Hassan Asman who just won the Eisner, doing the letters across the series. It's absolutely amazing. John Pearson does from Mindset does a lot of the covers too, and yeah, so gorgeous, and was really great in issues. But I cannot wait for people to experience the whole thing, sitting down and reading a trade and jumping from layer to layer and art style, and seeing this very moving, heartfelt, poetic story that we've crafted here. It's absolutely amazing. And
how was that balancing that with all
brutal,
those different artists?
Brutal. We used the fluffy marketing term ambitious, which was our way of saying, like, guys, we killed ourselves doing this. I hope you enjoy it. Like, it was really hard. It was really logistically hard. But I'm very excited for everyone to read that. Yeah, that's a very special book. So that comes out in September. I think it's the same day that Dark Empty Void drops, actually. I think it's the
Nice.
11th. So that comes out the same day. And then I this amazing talk about a completely different kind of series. This amazing collaboration with one of the largest synthwave bands in the world, the Midnight. And if you're not familiar with them, they're absolutely amazing. But you don't have to be familiar with them to enjoy this collaboration. I did an entirely original graphic novel with them. It's very much like Tron. It's steeped in like 80s nostalgia and synthwave culture. It's aesthetically gorgeous. We have Janoy Lindsay and Stephen Thompson drawing on it, and then Thiago Rocha is our colorist, and DC Hopkins is the letterer. And that's a fully contained graphic novel through Dark Horse that comes out October 2nd. It's about a guy that is sucked into a childhood video game of his, but unlike Tron, when he gets there, he's told that he's the hero of the game and he's been missing in his ordinary world. And unlike most of those types of movies and stories, he finds himself not wanting to accept the responsibility of having to save this world, because games are fun, but responsibilities are not. And so it's very much about growing up and facing adulthood and what happens if you don't want to. And so it's a really awesome project, and I can't wait. So yeah, a busy next couple months.
Well, I mean, that sells it though. Like that's what I love about, again, you take so many times with stories that reflect on real life, right? Like how many of us are in the comic books are like, we don't want to grow up and have do adult responsibilities. We want to live in our basement with all our toys.
Yeah. Well, and video games especially, like video games are escapist, like
Yep.
we can all think of those games where we just played for hours and hours and hours, just losing ourselves in those games. And then you got to put those games away, or some of us try not to. But it's very relatable. And yeah, that's the best kinds of stories is
Yeah.
trying to find some relatable
And
authors.
this was never, these were never single issues. This was all just a straight graphic novel, right? So was it
Midnight
different?
is
Was it different writing process for you to go from to not have it, in single issue format at all?
a little, not too much, I don't think. I mean, it's still divided into chapters.
Okay.
It's still got, I think, that sort of cliffhanger sort of pacing where you're carried through a movement and then you feel like, oh, I can't stop here. I got to keep going. And so it's still it's still meant to be kind of read as one exciting experience. So I did it in a similar way. I mean, I guess sometimes when you have like the luxury of being in a graphic novel, you can be like, this chapter's 8 pages and this one's 30 pages or whatever. Like you can mix it up, but we didn't. We kept it pretty uniform in that regard. I guess it's just what'll be interesting is I'm used to like having something come out and like have everybody read the taste and like build, and so this will be interesting to have the entire story come out all in one experience and have people, pick it up and read it. And then it's contained, it's a miniseries. So
Yeah, so that's got to be an interesting then mindset to have, like, you got people, because I feel like issue one where we kind of like, this is going to be a great book or not right off the bat sometimes, and you're like, just wait till 2, wait till 3. Like here you're like, you get it right off the bat, you get to read
oh,
it.
man, I mean, Beyond Real came out in December of God, what month are we in? We're in 24, December of 23. It came out
Yeah.
December 23. But like I had been promoting that book and telling people, like get excited about this book since the fall of 23. So then we get to December and it's like they get their taste. And then we run the gambit on issues. The issues are done by the spring and we're waiting till fall. That one dragged out a little bit longer. I think there were some printing issues that Vault Comics faced, but I think that's generally par
Yeah.
for the course. That, like, generally speaking, in comics, from the time the first issue is released to the time the trade comes out, it's usually 7 to 9 months, and so yeah, it's a stretch, and you're like, waiting for people to get there, and also I'm very aware, because I do it myself. There are so many people who just wait for trades in this day and age. There's a lot of culture where people are Their polls are tight. They're picking and choosing what they're going to pull week to week. They're definitely marking something. They're going, I love that first issue. Can't wait in 9 months to pick up the trade. And you're just waiting for that too. So it's a very interesting experience as a creator to like have something announced or have some issue one come out and know that there's going to be a whole ton of people that don't get to experience it until, much later. So yeah.
It's crazy. Well, like I said, I wanted to respect your time. I'm hesitant to ask if there's anything else that you got working on that you want to talk about, but
I think that those four, it's Kill All Immortals. It's another stretch of four: Kill All Immortals, Dark Empty Void, Beyond Real, and the Midnight Shadows. And they're all Kill All Immortals is out now, and then the rest of them are all coming out September and October. So yeah. And I'll be at a couple conventions this fall. I'll be at Rose City in Portland. I'll be at New York Comic-Con. So if you're in either of those coasts, come and those conventions with me.
And where can people follow along with you, stay up to date with what you're working on?
Yeah, just follow me on all the social media spots at Zack Caps. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky. I got a website, zackkaplan.com. And yeah, let me know what you think of the books.
Well, Zack, thank you so much for taking some time to talk about comics with me. I always enjoy talking with you, and I always enjoy reading your books. Like I said, you became one of my favorite writers. If your name's on a book, I pick it up. So I always love getting to talk comics with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
With that being said, gang, go support Zack. If any of these books sounded good to you, check out, in the previews, go to your LCS, get them, order it, support indie comics. And as always, hopefully you can find some time to curl up, grab a book, and nerd out. Peace.